Okay, I'm going to present my USB device to my virtual machine. You can see there I'm at 5.1 and my virtual machine itself is newer than hardware version 7, so I should be able to present the USB device directly to it from the host. So I'm going to add onto the hardware list a USB controller because I've got a USB UPS. Click next, next, finish. Okay, you'll notice the virtual machine is powered off and it will reconfigure and add in the USB controller. So if I now power that virtual machine on, this is the machine that I'm going to connect my UPS to, and I'm going to install my UPS management software upon. So now that I've got USB controller, I can add in a USB device. I've already got the UPS plugged into my host, so when I click next I should see it listed. There it is there. It's a HP T1000 G3 UPS. Click next and click finish. So if I log on to this machine here, what it should do initially is come up and say it's found some USB hub devices. If I open device manager, just close that down, and there we go. We can see it wants a reboot to finish installing the devices. Let's just go and have a look and see what devices it's found. Open devmgmt.msc or device manager. Tagged on at the bottom of the list, you see it's picked up its USB controllers, but it wants a reboot before it initializes them, pulls drivers in, etc. So it's asking for a reboot. Let's let it do so. And log back in again. Hopefully this time our task tray should pop up and tell us that it's installing USB devices. There we go. Just to prove it's not all smoke and mirrors, if I go back and open up Device Manager again, hopefully this time we should see our USB root hub objects, and there we go. Nothing's got any question warning triangles on it, so there we go. That's my USB root hub. So I can now install my USB software. I've already presented my UPS, so once I install the software it should see it now. And here I'm gonna, on this machine here that the UPS is presented to, I'm installing the HP PowerWare management software. It wants to extract, just press space bar a couple of times. And run the setup EXE. Now this is going to install its own little web server, so be careful if you're installing this on an Exchange server or anything else that runs web services. You do have the option, as you'll see in a minute, to change the port number, so if you do have to install it on something that's running web services, make sure you set it up on a port that isn't port 80 or port 443. And click finish. Now when you first install the management software, the service itself won't have started, so you need to go down to the bottom and manually start the service. Now it could take a little while before that icon changes. What you're looking for is it to have a little green tick over it to see that everything's up and running. So I am not going to set it up using SSL, and I'm going to put it on 8080 because we'll assume that this is running a web service of its own. It's USB connected, and because I've presented it via VMware, it's detected my USB. And again, it takes a little while for this. There we go. So default username and password is admin and admin. Obviously you can go in later and change this should you so wish. So here's the management software. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put an agent on one of my other machines, and I'm going to get my management software to talk to that agent. So here's my Exchange box that I'm going to put my agent upon. Unlike on the management server, when we installed the management software, on here we just need to install the agent software, which I've got on a share on the network. If you've got the software on the DVD that came with the UPS, you'll find both the management and the agent software on the disk. But I've downloaded this directly from the HP website. Again, it wants to extract, so when you run it you'll have to press spacebar a couple of times. And just like when you install the manager, run setup. Only this time it installs the agent software. Close that down. And you'll see you have the same icon on here. Once again, you'll need to manually start the service, and it'll say device disconnected because it's not out in the management server at the moment. So let's point it to the IP address of the management server and click finish. Okay, jump back onto our management server and go to attached devices, and I'm going to add a new device, and I'm going to tap in the name and IP address. Now you notice I've put a comment on the screen there. If you have a larger UPS that has different power banks and you are configuring agents on physical machines that are plugged into the UPS, you will also see on here which power bank the remote machines are plugged into. But all our machines are virtual machines anyway, so that is my remote machine's IP address. I'm going to leave this on the default. You might want to tweak about with the time for both the management server and the remote agents to get it to shut down. Now you'll see I've got a little red X over that. It'll take a little while. If that doesn't go green, the usual culprit is there is a Windows firewall either on the management server or on the remote agent machine that you need to open some ports on, or simply disable the firewall. Okay, that's not your only option. You can run a script to shut your virtual machines down. With prior versions of ESXi, we used to use P-Link and SSH, but SSH is turned off by default. So the easier way to do this is with PowerShell or the VMware PowerCLI. So download and install that, which you can see me doing now. When you've done, you'll see you've got a couple of shortcuts on your desktop. There's 32-bit one and 64-bit one. If you run 64-bit one, you will see initially it'll give you an error about your signing policy for PowerShell. If you use the PowerShell, then you'll know what all this is about. You'll need to change your signing policy. You'll see mine is set to unrestricted. I'm going to upset all the security conscious among you now by just setting mine to unrestricted. You can set yours to local signed or whichsoever you wish. I'm simply going to set mine to unrestricted. So that now when I open my PowerCLI, it should not error. There you go. So I can now execute PowerShell commands from this machine and connect to my management server. If I go into my management server, you'll see I have the option here to run a script when this is called to shut down machines. So if I tick that box and click Save Changes, back on the main page you'll see that I now have a little tick under Command Procedure. The eagle-eyed among you will have spotted the name of the script was SD script, and you will find it in Program Files HP Power Manager, and that is the command that it runs. I'm just going to take a copy of it because I'm going to be messing about with it, so I'll keep a copy of the original, and you'll see if you open it up that there's a load of remned commands on there and pointers, but there's nothing in there that actually does anything. So this is a command, or essentially a batch file that we're going to run that is going to call a PowerShell script. So this is the PowerShell script that I'm going to call. I'll stick it on the website. You can tweak about with it as much as you like. That is the command at the top there that you will need to run from the batch file or command file that calls the PowerShell script. So if I copy that out of there and I edit my sdscript.command and I paste that in, make sure the paths are the same. You'll see there's a, just need to change the name of that so it matches, and that will call the PowerShell script and execute it as it runs that script. Notice I'm calling it from the same directory, so I'm going to have to move my power off PowerShell script and paste a copy of that into the same directory. So if I open this up, let's take a quick look at it. Now you're going to need to tweak about this. Like I said, I'll put a copy on the website and you can play about with it to your heart's content. At the beginning that just connects, that loads in the extra bits and bobs that you need for the PowerCLI for VMware. Then this command here will connect to my virtual center server. So you will need to change the name to match your virtual center server. And these bits on the end suppress a warning about certificates. That don't really need to be there, but that command there will gracefully shut down a virtual machine that has the VMware tools installed. Obviously you will need to change the VMware name. For instance here, this one's called PNL-EX. You'll put in the VMware name in there, and you can run as many of these concurrently to shut down gracefully as many machines as you want. The second command here will not gracefully shut down the VM. That will power off the VM. So if you've got something that doesn't have VMware tools in and you want to kill that VM from running, that command there is the syntax that you'll need. You'll notice on here I do not have a command that either puts the ESXi host into maintenance mode or closes it down, because if I did that it would just sit and wait because I'm running it off a virtual machine. And if you execute the command to put an ESX host into maintenance mode from a machine that is running, because the machine is running, it will never go into maintenance mode. If you want to run this script from a physical machine, then yes, you could do that. So I'm just test running that script, and what that will do is it will connect to my virtual center server, which you can see it doing now, and now it is gracefully shutting down PNL.ex, and it should force down the XP Pro 32. There it is, it's gone off. That's the script run. Now you can add in as many bits and bobs as you want to. Like I say, I do not attempt to shut down my ESX hosts. Most of my ESX hosts run from an SD card anyway, so they can quite easily handle having the power yanked out of them. Alright, thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to come and visit us at www.peaknetlife.com.